All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to this, our second evening of City Council applicant interviews. We'll have the same format as last night. Each applicant will have up to a 3-minute opening statement to include why you are applying to the Anniston City Council. And then each member will have up to 5-minute question and answer sessions with the candidate. So, Mr. Ramsey, if you would, state your name and address for the record, and then you may begin your up to 3-minute introductory statement.
Wow. Well, I'm Dottie Ripsey, and you mentioned my address. I'm at 2200 Royal Cliff Road. And you mentioned why I'm interested in this position. You know, I was driving down Woodstock the other day, and I looked at Anniston High School, and I saw those nice banners there. And it simply said it's in my DNA. And I looked at that and I said to myself, it's in my DNA for me to apply for this position. Many people have asked me so many times, Dottie, why haven't you gotten involved with local government in the past? Why have you been poor in that area in terms of passing over opportunities repeatedly? Why have you done that? And I said to myself, it just wasn't time. The time wasn't there. For over 35 years now, I have worked in this community. I have been a servant leader, understanding what it takes to get things done. I am a Democratic leader. I believe in working with people where we bring everyone in together and look at whatever issues are on the table. I understand what it means to work at all levels of government, both local, state, federal. I understand what it means to work with nonprofit organizations. I've done it. I've worked with so many different organizations here for 35 years. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Concern for Children as a program manager with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Back in the 90s, I look at Sierra, she was even born then. She's probably saying, you did that? I went on to work in Atlanta, some nonprofit things, building partnerships. And I came back. And Anniston opened the doors for me with open arms. I felt like when I got back here, even in 2013, after being in Atlanta, because I was married, I was living in Atlanta, and then I came back. I had been gone almost 10 years, but I felt like I had never left. It seemed like everything I touched turned to gold. I said, this is my time now to really get back into this community. And please let me know when my 3 minutes are up.
30 seconds.
You know, I'm a talk show host, so I can go on. You guys know I can go on.
You got 30 seconds left. Yes, ma'am.
So this is fine because I want to leverage that and bring those opportunities and experiences now to Anniston, to my home. I am an Annistonian, born right there at Regional Medical Center just 20 years ago. But yes, I want to work that at a deeper level, a bigger level now. Thank you. And I want to thank you also, Council and Mayor, for allowing me an opportunity to come before you with this interview. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts, let's start with you.
First of all, Mr. President, thank you for submitting your name in the hat for this opportunity. Shameless plug, you know, I always wanted to be on the talk show. Shameless plug, anyway. It's okay. Well, as you were talking, I started scrambling around looking for another question to ask because you answered part of the original question I was going to ask, which was what motivated you to run for City Council, and I think that answer would be it's in your DNA. Second part to that question, and I think you've done a wonderful job with your introduction. So, what would be your top 3 priorities if selected?
Great question. So if selected, Anniston's doing some wonderful things, and it's particularly in all of the wards here recently. But I would say one of the top things I would do again, I would come in and I would want to come in and form a focus group with some members residents and citizens in Ward 1, I would want to form a focus group so that we can sit down together and really talk about what issues are plaguing that community, what concerns they have. This is not the Dottie show. This is not going to be my show. This is going to be an opportunity for me to work as a conduit with my citizens, that we're going to come together and look to see what's out there, what we can tackle. So I would come in and start some kind of focus group. I'm very concerned too about some other issues. I'm very concerned about is cameras throughout the city. There are some areas of the city that's doing great. They've got cameras up. But I think that when we look and want to address crime in our city, I think that that's something that if we had more cameras in the areas, especially high crime areas, that we need cameras, but I would want to take a look at that. And I would also want to work with some blighted houses and that type of, those types of areas, and particularly in certain section and portions of Ward 1, and really look at that and see how we maybe examine and analyze some government funds and how we're doing that, and see if we can get more out on the table. So those are those areas that I would look at.
All right. So, serving on the council can be kind of time consuming, and let's not sugarcoat it. You're Dottie Ramsey. Now, I don't think you're here with us, so you're Dottie Ramsey.
Yes.
You're demanded. Anything happens, your name is up there. You're being demanded. How would you maintain a balance and not get overwhelmed as far as more dealing with? How would you make your commitment to the council and balance being Dottie Ramsey?
Wow, great question. So, when you have lived your life like I have, as a single mother, having raised 2 sons, you understand what it means to balance your life. And that would be an ongoing process. If it means me having to look at some things and push some things to the side, then I would make that call. Because first and foremost, I understand that this is a very serious position. We've got some very serious jobs to do. And first and foremost, I'm going to be committed to this position first and foremost. So if it means cutting back on some other areas of my life, cutting back, and I've already done that in many ways. You know, I'm only doing shows as needed. When people come to me and call me right now, they say, hey, Doc, I want to be on local medicine. I got some great things going. I'm like, well, what do you got going? And if it's not something that I feel like that our county could really learn from, I'm gonna push back. And so pushback is my key term, pushing back and putting this first. And I would add to where I am at Talladega College. I am an assistant professor there. I look at my life, man. I remember going up that mountain, working hard, balancing. I'm here now. And where I am in life now, it feels kind of good to be kind of on this side of the mountain, coming on there. And so I don't have to, you know, if I'm not available, then I'm not available. You know, and it feels good to be at that point in your life.
Okay. But I got anything left?
30 seconds.
Well, I defer my 30 seconds by saying, I ain't gonna say it no more. Thank you, Ms. Ruth.
Thank you.
It's been a while since we've talked.
Yes.
I see that you're working on your doctorate in
Yes.
North State, and I didn't know if you finished it, or is it doctorate yet, or?
No, and we're far from it, you know.
I see.
I am pursuing it, but let me tell you one thing about pursuing a doctorate degree. They give you 10 years.
Okay.
You know, you can sit back 2, 3, I'm kind of like sitting back, still kind of like, I'm in the program. Yeah, I'm in the program. I got accepted into the program 2 years ago. But, you know, I was at Talladega College, I was pretty much running the entire communications department. So we just hired a young lady. She actually has her doctorate degree, and those credentials to make that program more competitive in many ways. And so I am considering going back in, but well, I was just excited that I got in, and I know I still have, look, 8 more years to still think about and get in there and do something.
Well, more power to you. I didn't because I was terrified of statistics. My professor said, you better go for it now, if you're gonna go for it after my ES degree.
Right, yeah.
And so I did not because I was terrified of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, more power to you. Unfortunately, you stole my question. I looked at your resume, and it's just so full of so many different obligations, and I was gonna ask you about time, but you took it. Anyway, another question. How will you ensure that you remain accessible to residents and stay informed about the concerns of your constituents?
As I mentioned, I would start a focus group. And so it feels good when you have people working alongside of you. Technology is great. Technology can be good or bad. You gotta be careful. But it makes you more accessible when you can do some things. I would talk again with my focus group. We can have meetings. We can always Zoom in. We can Google Meet. These types of things that I use on a daily basis in education. And many times when I'm not there or something's going on and we don't have class in person, because I'm more of an in-person professor, but I am on in person and online. And so we have that flexibility, and I would use that same type of regimen in if I were selected here as the council person for Ward 1. I would use a lot of technology to make sure I can keep up with what's going on and call, email, and the phone still works. I know we're so busy. We still have a phone, so I would call and talk with people and see if we can meet. If we can't meet in person, let's see if we can Google Meet if they have that type of technology, those types of issues. So I would use technology to my advantage, and I would rely on my team focus group, if you will.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ritchie, a follow-up question for Mr. Roberts. I don't know if you've had a long and successful career in media as an on-air talent, as a producer, as an educator, and I would think that carries with it a pretty unique skill set.
Yeah.
What have you learned in media in those roles that would benefit you if selected to serve on the council?
Media is tricky, and media can work either for you or it can work against you. And if you don't know how to frame your conversations with people, you can find yourself in a lot of hot water. So I've been in media now for over 30 years. There are some people who are not aware that I grew up in Anniston's home when I was 9 months. My dad moved us, we moved to Chicago, and I grew up in my early elementary years in Chicago. Mom, dad divorced. Dad came back here to Anniston. I went with mom high school years in Hartford, Connecticut. So I grew up in Hartford, but then I came to JSU and went to college. After graduating, I got a chance to go back to Hartford and work at Aetna Life and Casualty there and in the corporate world, but I wasn't in the insurance side, but I was more, again, on the event planning side of it. Then I got that big break. I got an opportunity to go to work for WFSB in Hartford, and there sat Gail King. And she was one of the young reporters, and I was a writer and producer, young. And I got a chance to work with people on that scale. Gail King, I got a chance to meet and work with Oprah. I got a chance to write, to work beside these people for years, and then I got a chance to work and to go in front of the camera and interview. Those types of experiences and that type of experience and knowledge goes a long way when you are now when I'm looking at my life and hoping that I can be out front to be a part of what's going on in my city, to use that type of experience to make sure that that our narrative is good. I always tell people, make sure you tell your story before anybody else tells it, okay? Get out front. Don't sit back and say, well, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to say that. I just hope it goes away. No, you get out front. And so having that experience about understanding how to work the media is very important when we're dealing with issues in any city. Because if you don't deal with it, other people will have you on fire and burn up, okay? They will make it worse than what it is, but you have to be the one to come in and know how to quell these types of rhetoric, if you will.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Ernst. Ms. Smith?
Hi, Ms. Ernst.
Hello, Ms. Sierra.
I have a couple questions for you. You have a lot of experience and education in dealing with young people, and as a young person myself, the reason why I'm here today is because I had a village of my elders that encouraged me, supported me, and laid a foundation for me to be in this position. And so, with all that being said, young people play a pivotal role in the sustainability of our city. How do you plan on using your experience and education to engage the youth in our city?
Oh my gosh. Again, it's in my DNA. I've been where you are in terms of having people mold me. You know, my family, my dad. I mean, I'm 10 years old out there handing out, flyers and campaign flyers to people out knocking on doors at, in Norwood and Constantine, and I didn't even really know what I was passing out. My dad just says, just get out there, you gotta work this campaign. This is what you gotta do. And so I was groomed to understand what goes on in the city in terms of electing. I've always had a love for city government and politics, but again, I was very slow to move into that realm of her. I work with students now every day who, many come from very troubled homes. We've got students right now who don't even want to go home for Thanksgiving. They want to stay on campus because they don't want to go back to the issues at home. My role is not only to tell them to turn to chapter 13 and open up and study for a test, but it is to groom them. It is to get them ready for the other parts of life that go outside of the book and the paper, but to get them ready for that. So, just like you, I have people to help me get to where I am in my life. I didn't do this by myself. If you see a turtle in a tree, we all know he didn't get there by himself. Nobody gets to be a success by themselves. That just doesn't happen. Not even Oprah. She will tell you there's other people who believed in her, who saw her value, who saw her capabilities, and they helped her. And that's what I will do with young people in this city and continue to work with them. I work with them every day, and I'm constantly pushing them. I had a young man call me last semester. He wasn't gonna come back to school. He was very upset with some things going on. And I asked him, I said, I don't want to ask you a lot of personal questions, but is your life in jeopardy? Are you being threatened in any way? He says, no, ma'am. He said, I'm getting ready to go in the military. I said, that's great. I said, but you're in 2 more semesters, you will be a graduating senior. Can you hold on? What can I do? What can we do? We can tell them in college to help you remain so that in 2 more semesters, go in the military, but now you're going in you're going in as an officer. You're going in now with some rank behind you. And he's getting ready to come out in May 2025. Yes, it is.
Thank you. A very important aspect of being a city council person is understanding the budget process. So my question to you is, what is your approach to budgeting and managing taxpayer dollars responsibly?
Wow, great question. When you are managing taxpayers' dollars, or a lot like managing other dollars when you are working even in the corporate world, there are people who look at me and say, "That's Daddy, that's great. You've had that show now for 8 years, and you do a great job." But they don't realize that's a business. You don't get to run a show just because you're cute. Or because you get to speak well, but the show has to be paid for. Sponsors are involved. There's money, there's budgets that have to be looked at. We have to pay directors. We have to pay our camera people. You have to look at budgets overall to make sure a show is successful, that people are paid, that you maintain it, that you go out and get sponsors and you maintain those sponsors. But also in other positions that I've had, If you will, if you guys will look at my resume, you will see where I worked at some nonprofit organizations over in Atlanta. And those positions, particularly with Hands on Atlanta, I worked with a grassroots, this was right during Hurricane Katrina. And during that time, over 30,000 Texans were, I'm sorry, not Texans, but those residents from Louisiana were dropped off in Atlanta. And Texas also got thousands of people as well. So this was a grassroots organization, a grassroots project that we had to make sure that these 30,000 people who didn't even have a toothbrush when they were put on the bus, and that we had to make sure that those individuals and families could find and could be resettled. And we had budgets that we had to work with. I was given some 35, 40 families to make sure that they were going to be resettled in Georgia. I had to make sure that these families and their kids would be able to get their Peach Care cards, their driver's license again, or their birth certificates. Make sure that we had them in housing and hotels. We were working with budget, so I understand that budgeting process and working with money quite well. And I feel like I'm bringing that to the table as well here in Anniston as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Rimsey, would you like to give a closing statement?
My closing statement again is I never thought that I would be sitting here when, Jay Jenkins decided that his time was up, and I looked at my life and I said, this is it. It's now or never. As I said earlier, I'm here and in my life and going here. But when I say I'm going down that mountain, it doesn't mean that I realize that I'm not going to still do some big things. It means that those areas of my life that I've had so far been able to leverage that and bring it into the city of Anniston. Lastly, I want to thank each of you this opportunity for even selecting me, looking at my resume, and allowing me this opportunity to come before you guys.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to serve.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And do I go on this one?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
We're well, thank you. Mr. Thomas, what we'll do is give you the opportunity for an up to 3-minute opening statement. Following that, each member will have up to 5 minutes for a question and answer session.
Yes, sir.
So if you would to begin, if you would just state your name and address for our record, and then you may begin your 3-minute opening statement.
My name is Steve Thomas. I live at 70 Drennan Drive, Anniston, Alabama, 36205. I lived at Fort McClellan. That's where I lived and went to Jacksonville High School. So I was a Fort McClellan kid. I grew up there on Fort McClellan. I went to Jacksonville State, and when I graduated Jacksonville State criminal justice, I I got a job with the Anniston Police Department in 1986, and I retired from there in 2010. So I did 24 and 4 months there. And I left there, had an opportunity to go to Fort McClellan to the Law Enforcement Academy, and became an instructor there. Now I'm the coordinator. They say I'm in charge there. I don't know about that, but I'm in charge of the Law Enforcement Academy there at Fort McClellan. I lived in Anniston most of my life. There was a stint that we moved to Oxford. Then when they started talking about the de-annexation, me and my wife said, we gotta come back to Anniston because I support Anniston. My livelihood, everything I've done has been in Anniston. So came back, built a house in Fort McClellan, and I even got married on the golf course there in Fort McClellan. So this has been my community since 1976.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Ms. Harris.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, ma'am.
We really appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see that you have some budgeting experience.
Yes, ma'am.
Say that we have a budget shortfall, our budget, I think it's 51 million now.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's what it is. And, but say.
Not the shortfall.
I was going to say,
Sorry, the budget.
I was wondering what I was going to step into here.
We'd have to shut this whole thing
Okay, say we're facing a budget shortfall.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you prioritize spending, if that happened?
Yes, ma'am. My budget isn't nearly that. I have a budget of about 1.6 million that I'm responsible for. And when I took over, we were around 300 to 400,000 to the plus. So we were just skimming along. Now, in my 3rd year since being in charge, I'm up to 1.2 million in surplus. So my limited budget, I'm very careful what I spend. I analyze everything. I sit back and I analyze what's the most important need. And it's not just for the academy per se, I'll refer back. It's, okay, what do I need, not what I want. There's a lot of wants, and those get in the ways of the needs. And so I will categorize and say, and work out the best solutions to, and how do we proceed, and how do we get our mission accomplished. So if we have a shortfall, there's going to have to be cuts somewhere. Okay, what is the least amount of cuts that I can do to move forward? So I would look at all the paperwork and analyze everything.
Thank you. What unique skills or experiences do you bring that would benefit our city?
My experiences with the city. I mean, I've been a part of the city, and my thing is even the people I hire, my job, I'd say God first, family second, job third. And that's what I look at here. I look at all the employees as family. I look at the city as family. And they are, because we're all family. Doesn't matter where you're from, we're all family because we're in the community. And that's how I look at it. And I have a relationship, even in the police department. I was very close to the street department. I was very close to the firemen, the second responders. We call them second responders. Law enforcement is first responders. So every city, I mean, even City Hall, I was very close to the people at City Hall, even while I was a police officer. And the other thing is, I am not about me. Never really wanted to be promoted because that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be a part of the city. And once you get promoted, you lose part of the city because you're behind a desk. You're not out there with the city.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll piggyback off Ms. Harris's question. I think your career in law enforcement gives you a unique perspective. Given that, given your years of experience there, your skill set,
Yes, sir.
how would that experience specifically in law enforcement guide you or benefit you if selected to serve?
Oh, yes, sir. That would benefit me because I had to be very, I don't want to say political with the people people I dealt with, because I had to make decisions, and I was able to take people's liberties away. And so I had to be cautious of how I did it, and I had to make sure I was fair and just in my job. And I'll probably tell you, probably 99% of people in Anniston that dealt with me would say that I was fair and just. And that's how I look at myself, as fair and just. And that's dealing with the city. I would be fair and just with everybody.
Very good, thank you, sir. And you mentioned growing up on McClellan.
Yes, sir.
Having lived there as a kid, you were there during probably the glory days before it, or what are some specific industries or sectors of the economy that, in your mind, you think that maybe we should target for McClellan?
I think any kind of industry that you got Honda, you can piggyback industry from Honda. You have these other industries, even Amazon. If you get Amazon out here, if you could get, because we're in between Birmingham and Atlanta. And I know a lot of people are looking to get out of Birmingham and out of Atlanta because the traffic and everything. And we're in the middle. So if we could create things at Fort McClellan, on the McClellan, and we would be able to serve Birmingham area, Atlanta area, and everything around. So even up to Huntsville, because we're in the middle of everything. And so.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Smith.
Hi, Mr. Thomas. As I discussed a little bit on yesterday with some of the other candidates, Ward 1 is a very diverse ward. Matter of fact, it's the most diverse ward out of all 4 wards. And it's a vast area. It covers a fairly big area. With that being said, how would you handle a situation where your personal beliefs conflict with the desires of the majority of your constituents?
Okay. I deal with that every day with the Law Enforcement Academy, and it's dealing with the recruits. And I have to make a judgment what is the best decision and being able to explain that decision. And that's what people want. They don't want you just to make a decision. They want to know why you're making that decision. As long as you're able to explain decisions that you're making and explain why it's the best for the city. Because I look at this city, and I don't look at Ward 1, I don't look at Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4. I don't look at that. I look at it as a city as a whole. And what is best for the city, not per se for the ward. And if you can explain that to the constituents there, why I may have to do something at Rocky Hollow area or Golden Springs area, but not at Fort McClellan, or vice versa. I have things at Fort McClellan, and it's going to benefit everybody. And that's the decisions you have to make, is what benefits the whole ward and to progress.
Thank you. When we're talking about the city, it really is a balancing act. When you're talking about economic growth, housing stability, our education system, prioritizing all those needs. And sometimes it can be very hard to balance that. Sometimes you can lose the heart of why you're doing it. So my question to you is, how would you approach balancing economic growth with preserving the character and the needs of our community?
We're fortunate because people don't realize all the things we have here at Anniston. We have the wildlife in Fort McClellan. We have the museums. We have all the historic areas. And the economic growth is important for the city, but I don't think it is the dire need of the city. So it has to have a fine balance in that. And so there's ways to have economic growth that doesn't affect the historic areas. And you just have to sit down and, like I said, I'm a thinker. I don't like to make rash decisions. I like to sit back and have everything and make decisions based off the facts and what's best. And so, and like I said, you can explain that to the citizens of why we're doing stuff, and show why this is best. And I'm one of these that if you have an answer or a solution, you should have 3 different solutions for an answer. And you always have options, so you don't go with just one solution. You're always able to, if it's not going through, you can divert different solutions. So don't always just get stubborn on one solution.
Since I have time, let me ask you another question. You talked about living in Anniston for quite some time, you worked in Anniston for quite some time, and I would say issues have differed throughout the years. The issues today may not be the issues of yesterday. So I'm specifically referring to the most pressing issues in today's time. What do you see as the city's most pressing issues?
Finding and changing the views of City of Anniston City Schools. To bring businesses in, you have to change how people perceive Anniston High School, how they perceive the middle school. Because people aren't going to bring businesses in and their kids go to Anniston High School under the presumption of how it is. I know how it is because it's not how the community or other communities look at Anniston. Because like I said, I'm a police officer in Anniston, and also I'm out at Fort McClellan, I'm at the gyms, and even all that time, I spent time in the schools. But we have to change the perception of Anniston High School, because people aren't going to come here, bring business here with that perception. So we have to do things to change the perception of it.
Thank you.
Ms. Roberts.
Sounds like you're okay.
Doing good, sir. How are you?
Good, right. Thank you for your interest. And Sierra took all of the questions. I'm scrambling now. So what strategy would you use? So Ward 1, as we mentioned yesterday, is probably the most diverse population.
Yes, sir.
And you're correct. It's scattered from probably, as far as land mass and proximity, probably the second scattered ward from here to there.
Yes, sir.
Different groups.
Yes,
As
sir.
I mentioned yesterday, affordable housing is different on Rocky Hollow. A house on Rocky Hollow would be considered upstanding, but you take that same house and put it on Fort McClellan, you know.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dunn, how would you go about balancing the ward of Ward 1 with the different needs and different aspects, understanding that, I guess in a term I used to use, your broke may not be my broke,
Yes, sir.
or your rich may not be my rich. How would you go about trying to make sure everyone in that ward is fair share?
Yes, sir. That's a good question. And one of the things is Mr. Hodge does an outstanding job of a lot of that community changes and bringing. And I think if you can get community involvement, it's difficult to get people in a community involved. You have to find something that entices them or attracts them to get involved. And so as a leader, that's what your job is, to find what motivates and drives so you can get the community to working together for the whole community and not just your individual area. And like I said earlier, and that's why I look at the city not as a Ward 1, not as 2 or 3 or 4, it's a one city. And what is best for the city, you have to motivate people from Golden Springs to even Ward 2 and everything as what is best. So I am a motivator. I was police. I was in charge of the SRT team. And like I said, I never had rank, but I was the leader of that. And I was just like the police academy. Don't have the director title, but I am the leader solutions. Like I said, I try to find at least 3 solutions to every problem. And that way, you can work around things and talk to people. And that's one of the biggest things. People don't like to talk to people. They don't like to show sympathy or empathy. And that's one of the things that, as a law enforcement officer, that I have had to show was sympathy and empathy and understanding of people. And how do you get them to buy in to the city? And that's what we have to do as leaders, is get people to buy in. And that's how you change the vision of or the view of the city schools also. You have to get the people in the city to buy in.
So, one last question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned vision. Where do you see, say you're selected and just say you're reelected or whatever, where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
Where do I see the city?
Yeah, what role would you like to see?
I would like to see the city grow. In order to do that, McClellan is the prime spot for growth. And also, not just McClellan, but also on the west end of town. You're having all the abandoned there. And so start looking at the community and economic growth on the west end. Because you have all that land over there that's being run down, and it needs to be revived, and we need to bring industry in there. And if you can start getting some of those areas, and I don't know the budget, I don't know how it works, if you can start getting the city to clear some out and start making subdivisions, houses, and start bringing back like they did in Birmingham, in those areas they tore down, and they brought back middle class houses. I'm not saying put mansions there, I'm just saying bring back the community. So now you have it not just in different wards like you said, you have it in all the wards. And so you start looking at visions of changing the demographics of your wards. And so you're bringing it in, and people see that, and it pushes them, and it drives people when they see success. And if you put success in the neighborhoods, other people will see success, and they will strive for it. If they see doom and gloom, they strive for doom and gloom. That's all they know. But if you put other things in those communities, and it changes people's views.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes the question and answer session. Would you like to give a closing statement?
Yes, I appreciate y'all. I really do. I'm honored and humbled with all y'all. Y'all do an outstanding job. This is probably the best council that I've been associated around since '86. So I'm humbled and honored for y'all. I really am. And the mayor is the mayor. So, but and also Stephen Boakes. I'm honored, and he's a precious friend. So I'm honored with y'all. Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Anytime. Yeah, good to see you. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, Mr. Squires, what we will do is we'll give you up to 3 minutes for an opening statement, and then each member will have up to a 5-minute question and answer session. So if you would, for our record, state your name and address, and then you may begin your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is John Squires. My address is 201 Druid Hills Road, Anniston, Alabama, 36207. I am truly honored to have this opportunity to share my love for this community and so why my community so deeply and why I'm so committed to helping us grow. 5 years ago, I moved here from Dallas, Texas. And when I came here, I was amazed by the beauty of it. I worked for a company named Honeywell and made friends immediately, had a very nice job, and enjoyed my time working with people here. The camaraderie that I saw of them, the family nature of them all, was a welcome from the city of Dallas, Texas, where I was from. I fell in love with this town as soon as I came here. I love the camaraderie that I see. I see the family members who come up and even talk to you, even on the street on any other holiday. One of the most favorite things I love to do is to actually walk around downtown at night. It's one of the excellent, most beautiful spots to actually to think of what's going on. If I'm elected as city councilman for Ward 1, my number one job is to work with you guys and to work in my ward. There is not an item or an issue that I won't touch, and I'm not at all afraid to combat strong issues. We all have opinions. I've seen you guys in action. And by the way, your YouTube videos are downright hilarious. There's only half the time. But I enjoy listening to you guys and hearing the arguments that you all say. But the amazing manner that you guys cooperate with one another is amazing and collaborate at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. I know, we talked before about a reading program. What, given that the school board is a separately elected entity, what strategies would you employ to foster collaboration with the school board, between the city council and the school board?
Well, one way that I've already done it, Mr. Sir, is that I talked to the school board and started a book reading contest for the Anniston Elementary School District. We did it last year. We had an amazing amount of students that read up to 75 to 85 books, which was totally amazing to me. We were actually very blessed by hearing from parents. I would actually hear parents from other towns that I was working in or at JSU when I was in college, that their child was, were you the John Squires book reading contest? I said, yes. And they said they thoroughly loved that. One of the things that I also look at with collaboration is with the school board and with us is that we need to look at the statistics of the schools. One of the stats that is really near and dear to my heart is the 3rd grade reading level. That the mere fact that some of our children cannot do this, I think we need to come back to a mentoring program almost. And even if we have a read day or once a month where we go to the schools and actually read to the students. My wife and my family, this is our 2nd year for doing it this time. We've increased the amount of prize money on here. But it was so entertaining to hear the librarians from the school district and the school board say they thoroughly love this idea.
Very good. I'll note on your resume, you've worked in tech before.
Yes, sir.
What strategies would you employ, policies that we should look at to make it easier to lay the groundwork for tech to potentially locate in Anniston?
One of the things that I do with my job, where I work at with the Alabama Department of Labor, is I actually get to have a treasure trove of different employers talk to me every day. I get to talk to them about what they're looking for, not only in the area they're at, whether it's Fort Payne all the way down to Talladega, but even Anniston. And of course, Anniston is always special to my heart when we bring this up. But one of the things that I talk to them about tech is what are they looking for? What kind of skill are you looking for? And if we don't have that skill right off the bat, I'm more than willing to talk to the schools. I'm more than willing to talk to our nearby colleges, Gaston State and JSU in particular, to say, hey, there's opportunities coming. This is what we need to think about doing. I also work with companies like not
Hi, Mr. Squires.
Hello, ma'am.
So we've been talking with other candidates about how diverse and vast Ward 1 is. It covers a pretty big area with many different forms of constituents based off different demographics and economic statuses. And so my question to you is, what would you do to engage underrepresented and marginalized communities in the city's decision-making process?
Well, one aspect of that is that with that diversity, I welcome the diversity. It's amazing to come up with different ideas from different areas of that ward. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of is the ability to walk into any area in Ward 1 and actually feel comfortable being there. I walked around Limlock a little bit. I walked around McCullen at length. As a veteran, I get to go on post and I get to see the actors there. I've been looking around different areas just to see the housing and see what is the beauty of this area. But one of the things that I absolutely do is I also sit down and listen to people. I listen to when I have a candidate who's looking for a job, I ask where they're from. And I look at what they bring to the table, what areas of jobs do they need, and where can I place them. I also do that with Ward 1. One of the things I look at is McCullen in particular, as a treasure trove of complete sustainability that I think in the future will be an asset to this as well. But I do not at any time just put it in only one part of my ward. I want to see my whole ward grow at the same time.
Thank you. If you were to be appointed and then, reelected if you choose to do so, what are your top 3 priorities?
My top 3 priorities would be the top 3 priorities I run on. One of the issues is veterans. As a veteran, I'm very much saddened by the number of homeless veterans we have. Yes, we have programs that are coming up with United Way and the bridge from the United Methodist Church, but one of the other ones is I think we need to bring more counseling in, and I think we need to bring issues to veterans to the forefront. The other issue I want to look at is education, and education is to continuously do the book reading contest, whether the city council is in with me or if it's just my own initiative. I totally believe in totally supporting the schools. I totally believe in supporting our teachers. And number 3, and most importantly, is an infrastructure plan. We should not just focus on one area, as in, for example, I've heard over the conversations about people talking about McCullen a lot, and I truly would look forward to those. But one of the things that the last candidate said was West Anniston. I think West Anniston is an underdeveloped area that really is prime for a lot of movement. I have talked to different companies already, even before running, and just to help our city out. I've talked with them about possibly moving to a company, at least a hub, for example, different transportation companies. I've looked at different scheduling for warehousing, logistics companies, and I've always tried very, very hard to sell our town. I love this town. I think we can do better. And I'm always going to be helping you guys along the way with any initiative you guys throw.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
So, just looking at some of the things you listed, trying to tie these in, your understanding of the MRO, or you're dealing with the supply chain industry. Your vast knowledge of supply chain industry, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but what are some avenues that we could probably pursue to put on Fort McClellan that would be up before in the alignment of supply chain management, or basically what are there any just, I guess, industries you could see that would be advantageous to the city being on Fort McClellan, specific industries?
That is a very good question. And before doing the resume for this position and being selected for the interview, that was one of my very first things I was going to bring up to you all. One of the companies that I look at, I think that we've come, to a degree, we've kind of tried to put all our eggs in one basket with the things that I want to try is actually not necessarily the 500s, but I want to try the 200 to 300 employee people. There are plenty of companies that right now that I'm talking to, not only for Alabama, but it's specifically for Anniston and for Etowah County. We're looking at logistical arms. There is a company right now out of Humboldt, Texas, that is offering classes in logistics, and logistics as in freight forwarding and freight dispatching. One of the things that I love about this is that this entity does not only, there is no restrictions on education, and there should never be. But on this particular case, it could be anybody and everybody who has a computer, and they can learn how to be a freight dispatcher. And one of the ways we try to do with us is maybe incentivize that education. You can actually have a logistics company from your own house. You can also have trucking companies that can come in to do this. We can work with different companies that build computer parts, or for any entity, to be that honest, to be food distribution to whatever. Logistics is a huge key. In my time as a logistics coordinator for different avenues of approach, I've learned different tricks, and I've learned different truck lines, and I've learned a lot of camaraderie along the way. I'd like to bring that camaraderie to this council. I think as an added bonus with it on that. I think we also need to look at not only the McCullen area, but I think we need to look at West Anniston a lot too. I think we need to look at South Anniston a lot too. And then definitely in particular, I heard a candidate the other day say we want to be in the top 10 of small cities. I want to be number one, and I'm not going to quit until we find a way to do it.
So, give me a second, because I'm trying to try to put this question. With all that you have going on, how would you balance that act? Because the council sometimes can be a very demanding and very tedious job. Well, I shouldn't say tedious, just a very demanding job. How would you balance your time in all that you're trying to do on your job, on your regular job, as well as the council?
When I was considering this position, I thought back to when I started at the Alabama Department of Labor. One of the very first questions they asked me was, did you have any political aspirations? And I specifically told them, I absolutely want to work for the city of Anniston in some way, shape, or form. I actually went in front of the Alabama Board of Ethics. I've had my register on there and was passed with flying colors. To adjust the time, to do that, you have to be able to maneuver, and you have to have a very strong family unit to go with it. My wife and my daughter are amazing, and they absolutely understand that sometimes you just got to work a little bit harder. I thoroughly enjoy them, and in my own personal experience, my wife is my hero because she has taught me so much in that respect. I would always make time for the city. I will always make time for my family, and I will always work for Anniston as well.
Okay.
Hi, Mrs. Squires. How are you doing?
Doing well, man.
Good. I noticed on your resume, you mentioned people with disabilities, disability friendly,
Yes, ma'am.
and that means something to me because my background is special ed. I had an accident a few months ago, put me in a wheelchair, so I've learned a lot about, handicap parking and all this kind of thing. But also I believe that you're the kind of person who believes in giving people a second chance, because you mentioned 2 felony-friendly hiring events that you orchestrated. But as far as you go, can you ensure that you remain accessible to your constituents? I mean, you want accessibility for these individuals, but what about your constituents? How would you ensure that you remain accessible and you hear their concerns?
One of the things that I thoroughly love about the area around my home in Golden Springs is my wife and my daughter are avid dog walkers. And one of the things that I love about that is that they get to go all over the place at Ward 1. And And one of the things that I thoroughly love about their dog walking is that they tell me stories of people around the area. I find out more about them and what's going on with them at this time. I wish I would be doing more, but one of the things that I focus on, especially with the disability-friendly job fairs and the second chance job fairs, I'm a very good manager of my time. And one of the things that I try incredibly hard at doing is I work with partners and at the Department of Labor and with different companies that are disability-friendly and felony-friendly. I have spent time cultivating them. I have spent time talking with them at length. One of the programs in particular for disability job fairs was talking to Social Security and the issue of the Alabama ABLE accounts. The Alabama ABLE account is a 529 account, which will help people who have disabilities when they have a job, and technically, in a technical sense, that even the employer, their families, their friends can contribute to this person's 529 tax-free. And I really love the fact that I was able to bring that forward. I did not speak to a collaboration meeting first in Gaston about this. I talked to my wife about this first, just to see on how this would work. And this is not just only our friends and family that have disabilities, as in physical disabilities. These are also mental disabilities as well. And I will always be striving for that.
Okay. Mr. Squires, would you like to give a closing statement?
I'd like to thank this council a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed the questions that were being asked. I thoroughly enjoyed the amazing questions that made you think right off the bat. I want to say thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to serve. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
How are y'all? Hey, how are you doing? Good. Okay, Mr. New, we will do, just like we did yesterday, we'll have up to a 3-minute opening statement to include why you wish to serve on the city council. That to be followed by a 5-minute question and answer session from each individual here. So if you would, state your name and address for our record, and then you may begin your opening statement.
Benjamin New, 1719 Johnston Drive, Anniston, Alabama, 36207. Wow, what an opportunity to sit before such excellent people. You guys have done a phenomenal job with this city. An amazing, who can complain? It's an honor to be in front of you in this capacity. Never would I ever thought to be sitting in front of movers and shakers like y'all, Mr. Bowles. I mean, I'm a little nervous. It's a real life-changing opportunity, like overnight. So I'll just begin with that, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
You know, the world is constantly evolving, and I like to say we have to stay with the times. And something that I feel like I brought to the table when I was elected to the council was a fresh perspective and innovation, and that's something that I want to continue. And so my question to you is, how will you encourage innovation and bring fresh perspectives to the council's work?
So I would immediately go see Carla Eaton. She's doing a darn good job with Main Street. I want to utilize what already does exist because there are several things that are already in place. I love Anniston. I want to be known as the cheerleader for Anniston. So I would immediately go talk to those people who are doing that, Anniston has plenty of opportunity. Plenty. We have a lot of talent here in this city. And thanks to the Social Sinclair and some of the new park on Noble Street, we're already exposing that talent. Like every Friday. It's great. I would like to see more.
Thank you. What unique skills or experiences do you bring that you feel would benefit the city?
Well, thanks to Mayor Draper, I serve on the Planning Commission, and we have done a lot of work in the Planning Commission. We've seen the city move forward with leaps and bounds. We now have the comprehensive plan, and we now have a new zoning ordinance, so that's very exciting to see and to know. I know that there's some other opportunities in North Anniston that are occurring right now. Again, thanks to the mayor and city council, and very excited to see that move forward.
So you actually did play a pretty big role in foreseeing the comprehensive plan here in the city, and not only as a planning commission member, but I would say as a citizen as well. Why do you think the city having a comprehensive plan is important for the growth of the city?
Sure, it brings structure. It's like the Bible of the city. It provides direction for the city to grow in. It answers problems. It's crucial to the city and its direction and growth. It lays out everything from growth to where things are going to go, how things will operate. It's a very malleable document that I am very glad and was very happy to be a small part of in that process. And I look forward to making sure that the city stays with that document and doesn't veer away from it. That's very important that we do.
Thank you.
Ms. Rose.
Mr. Benjamin New,
Yes, sir.
thank you for your time. First, let me say this. Take a deep breath. Don't let the moment get too big. Don't let the wind get sucked out of your sails. So my question to you would be, knowing what I know of you and working with you on the planning commission, know your passion for the city, but what would be your top 3 priorities for Anniston?
For Anniston, I would love to see the continued growth. There are some issues here and there that could be dealt with, but nowhere near what the city used to have. The city's cleaned up a lot. I certainly want to meet with constituents, business owners, pastors. I want to hear the heartbeat of the city on a much more personal level and find out what do our constituents look for in the city. But we've got great things going. Very, very few bad things per se. I want to make government more accessible to the constituents of the people of the city. That's really about it.
Okay, so that being said, your Ward 1, where you're like, it's big, it's spread out, and it's very diverse. Where you live may not be as challenging as Fort McClellan or the Little Rock area. So how would you go about balancing the entire ward to make sure all of the constituents' needs are met?
Well, each area of the ward is diverse and different. They have different needs. And that's fine. People are allowed to be people. I think that in doing town halls and meeting with them, finding out what's going on with them, that would help out, that would do a lot. I want to expound into McClellan, knowing what I know about the MDA. I'd like to work with Jason Brown and Tanner Bryant, some other city officials, to really look into what's going on with Ward 1 and the city and grow it.
So, let me ask this question. You being new, how would you be able to be being new and the city councilman? How would you be able to keep the roles separate, but still be able to maintain
compartmentalize them. If wanted, what happens at the seat stays at the seat. If people have questions, I'm available. We can talk about it. That's really about it. I know when I go to work, I'm known at work as the politician of the store. Because I talk about Anniston every day, all the time. They know. I brag about y'all all the time. Sierra Smith's done this, or that kind of thing. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love it. I think being in the seat is who you become. It's like it's hard to separate personal life and political life when your heart's right in the middle of it. I think the differential becomes in what you talk about, what you let out of your mouth.
Ms. Harris?
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You look great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For my age, I just have to do it. What can I say?
Hey, you know what's happening.
How would you handle a situation where your personal beliefs conflict with the desires of the majority of your constituents?
Well, my personal beliefs are very simple. Love Jesus, love people. I don't see a lot of room for conflict in that kind of belief pattern or belief system. I love Jesus with all my heart. I love people with all my heart. And I think that talking to people or handling the issues that you'd see in Ward 1, they can sometimes be tough and sometimes be easy, but the conflict in heart, I have to pray about that.
The comprehensive plan, and I know you've played a part in that. How do you envision the city in 5 to 10 years, and what role do you see the council playing in achieving that vision?
I think the council's role is vital. It's very important. You guys are decision makers along with Mr. Folks. I think that the city should be growing. It is growing. For the first time in a long time, the city's actually heading in the right direction. It's doing great. The budget has increased, I think by $12 or $15 million, thanks to y'all passing that budget. I want to see the city grow. And I think it's very important that we as decision makers do that. We've already began on North Anniston, growing North Anniston. Fort McClellan's next. So after the plat between Aldi's and Lowe's is completed, we should see even more growth. I mean, the city's got a reputation of growth and positivity now, thanks to Jackson Hodges. The city was, forgive me for saying it, but it was a clown show. It was terrible. I mean, we all know that. But now that's been flipped upside down. I think we're doing really good.
I appreciate your kind comments. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Newt, I'll note in your resume your experience in the grocery business. In your mind, what are some strategies that we can employ to make it more likely that a grocer would locate in West Anniston? Or what policies should we potentially look at implementing to make that more likely?
Find a place, make a building available. I know we have Toby Bennington, he's in charge of economic development. Toby's doing a great job with that. West Anniston definitely has great people living in its side, in the west side of Anniston. I think there's plenty of opportunity over there to put a small grocery store, maybe something like a Johnson's.
Thanks a lot.
Johnson's would love to come into West Anniston. I think just spreading the word. Hey, we want a grocery store in West Anniston. Okay, where are you going to go? What is that going to really look like? We do have a downtown location that is in a similar location as West Anniston, and it's doing really good. I think a grocery store in West Anniston would be great. if an investor wanted to make that investment, just behind the scenes conversations maybe, reach out to people who may already want to come out. It's not that hard of a process.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. That concludes the question and answer session. Would you like to give a closing statement?
Yeah, so I know there was some hesitations on my part because this is a really big interview. I call it the interview of a lifetime, as I told Mr. Foltz and a few of you others. It's a huge thing. I greatly appreciate all of you serving as you do. I wish the city the best in whatever God decides to do with it. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You guys are amazing.
It will be, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I'm thinking the same. I'm sorry. I haven't really spoken to you. I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
Hey, everyone. Oh, wow, what a crowd. Oh, God. Oh, no, that's kind of creepy. It's great. Oh, my gosh. Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Oh, here, I can get through. I was going to say, ask if I could approach and shake your hands.
Of course.
Absolutely. How do I get through? I'm good. How are you? Mrs. Smith, congratulations on the wedding. Thank you. Oh, you know, it's been a long time. I'm great. How are you? Good. Well, thank you. I'm great. How are you? It's good to see you again. Hey, guys. Hey. Mine are cold. The wind and everything. All right, so good evening.
Good evening. Okay, so this mic is, we'll give you up to 3 minutes for an opening statement to include why you have applied to the city council. Following that, we'll have a 5-minute each question and answer session from each member of the council. So if you would state your name and address, and then you may begin your opening statement.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. I'm Diana Michaels. I live at 1616 McCall Drive, Anniston, of course, 36207, which is proudly in Ward 1. And I bring a lot of experience to the table. I think most of you know me. I know everybody in this room. I think I know you guys. I'm familiar because I've spent a good chunk of my career in television, news, and weather broadcasting. So I have a familiarity in my face and also my name. I have 40 years, oh gosh, did I say that out loud? Lord, I started when I was 10. Of successful, it's just unbelievable how time has flown. Multifaceted and far-reaching work experience in the field of communications. That's a valuable asset, I believe, I bring to the table. In communications, it's far-reaching as well, so you're looking at public relations, marketing, media, in front of the camera, behind the camera, as a spokesperson. You do sales, event planning, you have website design, social media, so it covers a gamut. Something that's important, and the reason why I applied for this position is because I've been active in my ward, in the city, in the community, in the county, and I'll give you examples of that. At the end of these examples, you'll see why I felt compelled to step up and serve in my ward, because I feel like a lot of the work I'm already doing as it is. So we mentioned the ward because that's what brings us here tonight. I've lived in Anniston for nearly 4 decades, or for 4 decades. I purchased the home that I currently live in the ward. Here we go, dating myself again, in 1990. It was in September though, so that gives me a couple of extra months, so you can shave that off my age. My dad was stationed as an Army MP instructor at Fort McClellan, and he retired there. And I have most recently learned that Mr. Folks retired as an MP as well, I believe from Fort McClellan. Yeah, so we have something in common. I was out there as a teenager. I was treated at Noble Army Hospital. My dentist was out there. We shopped out there. So McClellan holds a very near and dear spot in my heart. Since 2017, I have been an active member of the Rocky Hollow Neighborhood Association, where we have successfully worked as a team to address quality of life issues in the ward. We have been successful in reducing the amount of gunfire, lessened trash on the side of the streets. We've reduced speed, especially in some of the line of sight restricted areas, proactively helped some of the stray dogs in our ward, and reduced their numbers. And we work to report and eradicate dangerous and abandoned homes, blight, and drug activity. Currently, I'm actively working on events and growing events in McClellan. I'll tell you more about the exciting stuff later on. I'm fostering new ideas and projects for the future, solutions to our quality of life issues in the ward and beyond. So now let's talk about the city. I have a good working relationship already with a lot of city employees, city officials. Some I've worked with on ward issues, some I've worked with on city issues, such as Code Enforcement Tana Bryant. We're on a first name basis. We talk at least once a week. The police chief, Nick Bowles, Animal Control Officer Darlene Berta. I have worked on projects in the last couple of years with Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Harris. And in addition to that, as a member of the Spirit of Anniston, I worked on a multitude of projects downtown and worked with a variety of teams from a 16-member board of directors, 5 counselors, a multitude of city employees, downtown business owners, and property owners. As a reporter, I have covered city, county, and state government. I am a small business owner myself, and through that business, I create and foster a lot of business-to-business relationships, and I build and manage creative projects. So in the community, my volunteer work, as you see on my resume, is just as diverse and just as far-reaching as my career and my skill set. I have been a proud member of the Anniston Kiwanis Club for 37 years, where we have served the children of this community. And other nonprofit agencies such as the United Way, the Junior League, Calhoun County Chamber of Commerce, YMCA, Red Cross, American Heart Association, and I even act on the stage of the cast. So now let's talk about the county. I'm currently working with County Commissioner Terry Howell on animal control issues. Terry, I'm so glad to see you here tonight. More information on that later on. I'm very active at JSU. That's my alma mater, a graduate in communications. And so I am now, for 2 years, on the Communications Advisory Board. Dr. Chris McCullough appointed me on that board for my experience in journalism. In 2022, we saved together the communications department at Jacksonville State University. Most people don't know.
Pat, you may need to say some of that for the closing. We're beyond the 3 minutes.
Okay.
Questions?
Sure.
We'll start
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with you. We just gotta be fair, we can't. No, I mean, no, it's nothing personal.
Sure.
We've been holding everyone up for 3 minutes, so. First of all, let me say good evening to you and thank you for coming.
Good evening, Mr.
Really
Roberts.
appreciate you. Really appreciate you throwing your hat and your name in the hat. My question, first question, what do you see the most, I mean, I think you all do a wonderful job with the Rocky Island situation. Rocky Island what is it, Rocky
The
Hollow?
neighborhood.
Neighborhood Association, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what do you see as the most pressing need that's facing our city right now? And what specific steps would you take to address it?
Okay, so here we go. There are a lot of issues that we address in the Rocky Hollow Neighborhood Association that are reaching even beyond that. Rocky Hollow was a core place where a lot of these issues cropped up and they just spread across the entire ward into the city and such. So these are not exclusive issues to my ward. It's in your ward and everyone is facing the same thing. The first thing is crime and safety. And again, these are the things we address on a weekly and even monthly basis in the Not Rocky Hollow Neighborhood Association. We need to fund the police, and I'm a proponent of that. And I appreciate the fact that you guys have worked to raise their salaries. I love the billboard that when you're coming into Anniston that shows the salaries, and it's a great recruitment tool, and it says we're hiring. I have a creative idea that while we don't have the exact monies to bring everything up to par with their salaries, that puts more officers in the neighborhoods, and it's an incentive and can become a recruitment tool. And I'll explain that later in some of the solutions that I've built for you as well. I don't just come to the table with here's all our problems and no solutions. So I have something I'd like to address with you guys that I think is a really creative tool. Animal welfare. I mean, Mrs. Harris knows this. I think there's been an uptick in loose dogs, pregnant dogs, packing dogs, dogs that are getting together, dangerous animals in the last 5 years, and it's gotten really worse over the last 2 years. We know it's because we don't have an animal shelter. That's one of the problems. We don't have the animal control that we once had. We used to have a uniformed officer. Now we have, I think we're down to one, Officer Berta. And she's restricted because, again, we don't have an animal shelter. So we really need new policies. We need animal control, education, legislation, and enforcement. Then it comes to infrastructure. So we have issues with the roads need repaving. We have signage that needs to be replaced. Trash, and more trash. So I know everybody in here is going to relate when I say the joke has been, where do all these mattresses come from? We didn't know that Calhoun County had this many mattresses, because now we see piles of the heavy furniture and mattresses just cropping up in the neighborhoods since we've stopped picking up larger items. So I have a solution for that. And I would love to give you more information on that separately. And I might even be able to bring somebody in from another city that has addressed this issue already. Speeding. I don't know if there's just more cars, people are in a hurry, they're just driving faster. Part of it, I think, is enforcement. They know that they're going to run the stop sign, and chances are there's not a cop on the other side of the stop sign, because I think, what are we down to, 6 uniformed officers per shift. So I think building up enforcement later on, and obviously everything takes money, and I'll get to those solutions. Education, I've reached out to Dr. Ray Hill. We have we have Anniston High School, Anniston Middle, we have Donahoe. So I know people on the school board as well. And so my goal is to actually sit down with them and listen to the ideas and the things that they're in education, they work in education, they have their own ideas, and I think a lot of times it's great if we just sit down and listen to some of the solutions they'd like to propose. Public relations. We need a better job of negating the negative stereotypes, and this has nothing to do with Jackson Hodges. He does a great job in Anniston, social media. I love it. I want to grab him and take him to McClellan. No offense to the person that built the McClellan website, but it's not great. And so it doesn't tell you what McClellan has to offer. Have you guys even Googled McClellan lately? Just Google it when you get home. Up comes things that don't even pertain to it. PCB dirt. That wasn't at McClellan, and that's been negated. Cold War era munitions are at the depot, not Fort McClellan. Then I've learned recently, when you Google McClellan, on the side will be lawyer ads. So anybody that wants to invest in McClellan sees toxic, dirt, munitions, everything's bad, and then here's how you get a lawyer. So those are things, and I could work with Jackson, because in my background, I know exactly how we can get the analytics and the metrics and just put a lot of good stuff so it rises to the top and we don't have to.
Okay, we need to move on to this area. All right, thank you.
Very good points, thank you. I appreciate the work that you're doing with Rocky Hollow. I used to go to all those meetings. Don't know why I don't do it now, I'm just busy. But anyway, appreciate that, and also Nawala. I know that was originally your idea. Appreciate that. And my question is, how do you plan to work collaboratively with other council members, especially when you disagree on issues?
So I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have tons of teams that I worked with in my job, in my volunteer work. I worked with you all on several projects along the way as well. And throughout that, you have to collaborate, you have to find a happy medium, and you have to do what's best for your constituents. This is the reason why we have a council of 5 people. It's a democracy. And sometimes the saying goes, be careful what you wish for, because maybe my idea isn't the best idea. So I'm really good at listening and debating and working on solutions and negotiating.
What strategies would you use to address potential conflicts between different community interest groups?
So, we've had to deal with that as well. At the Spirit of Anniston, you had the business owners that were always in conflict with some of the property owners, or there was always conflict. And so the best thing that anyone can do in a situation like that is to listen. It's just like the wife who comes home, has a bad day, and she just yells, and her husband's trying to throw stuff out there, and it's not helping. And at the end of the day, she said, all I really wanted to do was vent, and you listen. And a lot of times when you do that, and you take notes, and then you go back and research what they have just told you, you might actually surprise yourself. Google how other cities are doing it or dealing with whatever the conflict may be. But I think a lot of times what's great is I'm a mediator. I love to bring the sides together and just say, okay, this is your idea, this is your idea. Can we come to a center and a medium point where everybody gets a little something of what they need, again, to move the city forward?
Which Congress would do that?
I know. But also, that's a great point, because it was Mike Rogers who said to me one time, Diana, I vote on things and people are upset, and my constituents, because they don't understand why I didn't vote the way I normally would vote. And he said a lot of times it's a negotiation. You sit there and you know that you need these things down the line, so you go ahead and capitulate on this with the understanding that you will get what you need down here. So it's just, that's the way it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Michaels, given your experience with the Spirit of Anniston, and Billy alluded to events that you worked on, what strategies would you employ? What policies would you potentially consider to continue to foster downtown retail?
So the downtown merchants have a wealth of knowledge already, because they've been there and they've done that. They know what works, they know what doesn't work. They've had to start a business. I think a lot of times to foster new businesses especially, we don't spend enough time on the new businesses that are coming into town, and we don't utilize the resources of the merchants that are already there. They have a wealth of knowledge. It's almost like when you come into a college, you usually have a little sister or somebody that guides you. In Kiwanis, we have a sponsor. And so a lot of times I think what would help is to actually have somebody who's gone before and work with a new business owner and help bring them in. And work with the city to get on board and be more welcoming to some of the businesses. I know that when I worked at TV24, we were looking to move to Anniston, and it was very difficult. The city they weren't very welcoming to us, and we ended up in Oxford. So I was heartbroken at the fact that we lost our local TV station that we could have brought to Anniston. But I think a lot of times it's just building a cohesive team that can welcome new business owners, and then maybe even meet periodically to see what the issues are that are facing the current business owners that are already established.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Hey, Ms. Michaels.
Hey.
Before I get into my question, I admire your work that you're doing with the Rocky Hollow Neighborhood Association. You invited me recently, and I got to attend that meeting, and you all work really well together. I was listening to you all talk about your neighbors and just how you look out for one another. I think is something that majority of our neighborhood should resemble. And so I want to thank you for that and the work that you've done prior to even with the city. And I just wanted to acknowledge that part.
Thank you.
You know, a very important aspect of being a council person is understanding the budget process. And sometimes that can be a learning curve for someone who's not been a part of that process, specifically in a municipal level. So my question is, what is your approach to budgeting and managing taxpayer dollars responsibly?
So we have to do this frequently, especially at the Spirit of Anniston. We lost half of our budget, and I had to go back and get it. And a lot of that was negotiating, figuring out, prioritizing what is the most important thing that you need at the Spirit of Anniston. So the same thing with the city. You have to prioritize, you know, the critical needs, and then what are the needs beyond that with the amount of money that you have. And then when you get down to the bottom and you're running out of money, you have to realize, like in Kiwanis, what we want to do, we want to give out a scholarship. We can't give a scholarship to everyone, but when we get down to the end, even a small scholarship to those that are not critical resources in our city can help foster, I guess, an appreciative, knowing that you heard them, you cared, and you're working on these processes and these programs.
Thank you. How do you envision the city in 5 to 10 years, and what role do you see the council playing in that?
An economic mecca, and that was part of my solutions that I wanted to present to you all. It's a platform of solutions, and I call it the gateway to economic prosperity and financial freedom. I am sitting on several projects right now. I have 12 of them that I can introduce you to that will bring money into the city of Anniston. The ward, it affects us all. One of those, and it's really multidimensional: ecotourism, retirement communities, the film industry. So at McClellan, we're already working on projects out there toward this direction. A lot of people don't think about attracting retirees. And so retirees are an industry, they're a business. They are the perfect age group. They're still young enough to enjoy the outdoors. They have the highest amount of disposable income, and they are the one segment that don't pull on our city resources. Their kids are out of school, they don't pull on law enforcement, but they spend money, and they're active, and they volunteer. Calhoun County has a large senior population with the income to support a retirement community at McClellan today. A retirement community at McClellan will pull these seniors into the county, from the county into the city. And then if you look outside, if you go 8 counties beyond Calhoun County, you're looking at an even greater population. Currently, there are unmet needs to market, you know, senior rate apartments, senior independent living units, and there is a steady growth in the population of 75 and plus. In the last 15 years, 20.3% of the 75 plus population has grown. In the last 15 years, the 65 plus population has grown 12.2%. So McClellan is poised and a mecca for private apartments, condominiums, planned retirement communities, single detached housing. You can see that this could be a lucrative market, and it's turning heads already of investors. So there are already plans underway that could literally put a cog in the wheel that helps our economy. And I just want to become like the retirement communities are for the city and work toward, you know, bringing retirement communities to McClellan. And there's so much more. We have ecotourism. So I wanted to let you know and bring you the good news that there are a couple of projects I've been working on, and I contacted the stakeholders, and I asked if they'd be willing to move forward with these projects, and I got 2 affirmatives. So one of them is an ecotourism enhancement. The other one has the potential of producing multi-million-dollar income to the city and bringing 100,000 plus people as tourists to the city to spend money, and as you know, it has a domino effect. So I have the studies, and I will tell you that one of the persons has cleared me to release the information. That is Fred Couch. Many of you know he's been very active in the community. He supports my application for this position, as he and I have stayed in touch. We have explored options on an adventure park idea. Now, it's something he and I are passionate about.
Ms. Mikes, if I can, we need to speak to the
Okay,
time
sure.
so as to be fair to the other applicants. But you may give a very brief closing statement.
Okay, great. All right, the closing statement.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tourism dollars. So McClellan is poised to, really grow. The film industry, there's projects I'm working on with that. Ecotourism, so these two projects right here are ready to and go. And we know that when you bring in tourism dollars, they're like lucrative dollars because you don't offer city services mostly to these people, they don't live here. And we have a chance to take and make at least $1 billion like the first few years that we build this park, and it will pay for itself. We also already have examples where it's been built in other cities. But anyway, I want to let you know that this is why you need me. I'm forward thinking, I'm an aggressive leader, I'm not shy, I'm good at opening doors and especially economic opportunities. I'm already working on these, and obviously I can't give you a lot of details, it's very fluid, it's not been released to the media. I'm one that can think outside the box, and I dream big. So I'm no stranger to government or politics, and I have worked with this council and this city over the years. I've been successful, as you mentioned, the New Walla Noble, also leading the effort for the local historic designation for the downtown. I have also been working with a variety of teams across the globe and diverse teams to meet to a successful end with a lot of the projects. I have created avenues to open doors and bring people together for success. And even here in the city of Anniston right now, my work is everywhere, but most recently I designed the CARES billboard. And what I decided to do was make it personal. I coordinated photo shoots with all 9 practitioners, merged them together in a photo, and put the people who care about you in this community on that billboard. It's personal. I achieve the highest whenever I can, wherever I can. This year I was honored by the Anniston Kiwanis Club as Kiwanian of the Year. I have references that I can provide to you. I think the mayor has a copy. They can speak to my character and my ability to and sincerely bring home the ideas and the processes and programs that I've brought to you. The most important thing as a takeaway is that I'm active. I'm active in my ward. I'm active at McClellan, active in my city, active in my county, have been for many years, and I already have proven leadership skills in a multitude of projects I've worked on, continue to work on, additional ones that I can't wait to bring to the table. There are 12 of them right here that are phenomenal and ready to go and could bring in money to the city.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Michael.
How-
We appreciate your time
Yes.
and your willingness to serve.
I also thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking your time. I also want to thank you for opening it up to the public. I think that was something very exciting, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I want to leave you with a quote from the legendary Beatle John Lennon, who said, "A dream you dream is only a dream, but a dream you dream together is a reality." I look forward to working with you all.
Very good.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Have a great evening.
You too. And thank you all for joining us for this. So those watching. That actually concludes the